In our last episode, the hateful Hatfuls had just fired a cannon named Little Orby at the house belonging to Polonius Floy. Now, if you've been watching that episode, you would have known the whole plot. But as it is, let's go back a little so you can catch up.
Be careful, mister. This there's mighty hard on a cannon gun.
Inside the house, before the cannon went off, Fearless Leader had just explained the whole foul plot to Boris Badenov, alias Devil Dan Hatful.
Alias Felonious Floyd.
What, you're the head of both families?
Sure.
But that way you can't possibly win.
I always look on the bright side.
I
can't possibly lose either.
Achtung, Badenov.
Yes, Fearless Leader.
This is what we are after.
A derby hat?
But it wasn't just a derby hat. This was the legendary Kerwood Derby, whose wearer became the smartest man in the world. The Kerwood Derby had been worn by all the brilliant thinkers of history, men like Sir Isaac Newton.
I say, that apple bashed my bowler. That proves the theory of gravitation.
It had been worn by Galileo.
Well, we all know the sun, she goes around the earth. Just like... Hey, what am I talk? The earth, she goes around the sun.
And now Fearless Leader was hot on the trail of the Kerwood Derby. There was only one hitch. It had to be found by the stupidest creature alive.
You cold? Badenov, the moose is right in front of that cannon.
So Boris grabbed a club, smashed Bullwinkle, and drove him down into the cellar just as the gun went off. I say, just as the gun went off. All right, what's the matter?
Little Harvey gets temperamental sometimes.
Well, we can't go on with our story till it goes off again.
Now keep your hair on, stranger. Zeke here will find the trouble. Go on, Zeke.
Oh, here it is. The fuse isn't all the way in like it...
And that's where we wound up last time. The gun fired.
Me and Rocky still in the cellar. And us up a tree.
In the next county.
Devil Dan, what be you doing here?
I be keeping an eye on you, Ephraim.
I'm Zeke.
Don't argue about details. Mosey on back to next county and bring me that moose.
Right.
And Ephraim.
Zeke.
Bring back doctor, too.
You bet. He'll have you cured of the glanders in no time.
Glanders, that is a disease of horses.
Yep. That's the kind of doctor we got, too.
But we got busted backs and sprained ankles.
That may be what you got, but I know what he'll cure you of.
Glanders.
Glanders.
Oh, boy.
He's also good on split fetlocks and...
Get out of here.
Meanwhile, back at the root cellar...
Is the coast clear, Bullwinkle?
I can't see quite that far, Rock, but there's nothing around closer to hand.
Good. Let's get out of here.
Aren't we going to see Mr. Floyd?
No, sir. I don't think we'll ever get those two families to stop feuding, Bullwinkle.
And besides, he's gone.
You mean he's not in his house?
He may be, but it's gone, too.
And our heroes dashed off.
You know, I wonder whatever happened to that Missouri Meese convention.
I think that convention was just a bit of jiggery-pokery.
They all are, but only after the business meetings are over. Pretty good, Rock. I said, Rock? Rocky, where are you?
Oh, my sainted Aunt Agnes. Rocky has disappeared.
Well, now they've gone too far.
Well, what are you going to do?
I'm gonna disappear, too.
Be sure to see our next episode, The Vanishing American, or No Moose is Good Moose.
Once upon a timeless night, a miller who lived in a cottage deep in the woods made a sudden discovery.
Who are you?
I am your daughter, dear Daddy Miller.
A day or so later, the miller was again astounded.
And who are you?
I'm your other daughter, dear Father Miller.
Yes, the miller had been so busy with his mill that he'd failed to notice his two little girls had grown up. They were named Slow White and Nose Red, and for a very good reason.
Is that the bucket of water I asked you to fetch last summer, Slow White?
Indeed it is.
Well, it's frozen over. Oh, my, but you're slow.
As for Nose Red, she had an irresistible hunger for apples, and after consuming an orchard full, her nose turned red.
Is that a basket full of apples you have there, Daddy?
My, but you're nosy.
The girls, despite their shortcomings, were as sweet and gentle as the days were long.
Oh, look at that poor bear sleeping in the mud.
Let us take him home and give him succor.
You mean a lollipop?
No, some aid and comfort.
Don't bother to fix my dinner, children. I've been working hard down by the old mill stream, and I'm too tired to eat or sing it.
We may be as sweet and gentle as the days are long, but we forgot to tell Father we put the bear in his bed.
Well, he likes surprises.
Not this one, he didn't. That night, the miller slept in the mud, and at breakfast the following morning.
Daddy, that mud did wonders for you.
Yes, your acne is completely gone.
So is my sense of humor.
Daddy seems upset about something.
Maybe it's the mud.
It took a bit of doing, but the miller eventually became adjusted to his daughter's unconventional habits. That is, until one day...
Slow and Nose, you have made a lifelong friend out of every animal in the forest, and in the 11 western states, too, I might add. Each day they come to our door for food, and you give it to them. They've been doing this for 3 years, and now we're broke.
But we must continue to feed the poor creatures.
What with? We're out of food.
Well, how about giving them succor?
Well, we're out of them, too, even though there is one born every minute. I'll tell you what. I'll make you a package deal. You girls get married, send me money, and I'll see to it the animals are fed.
That's a wonderful idea, dear Daddy Miller.
Without any further ado, Slow White and Nose Red set off for the nearby village. But although the village was only a half a mile away, it took them a year and a half to get there, due to the fact that Slow White was so slow and Nose Red climbed every apple tree they passed. Then, too, the lights were against them. Everything worked out for the best, however, for when they did arrive, the annual bachelor's ball was in progress.
Do my eyes deceive me? Look at those two stunning creatures.
Gad, they're beautiful.
How true. The most beautiful girls at the dance.
They were the most beautiful girls at the dance, mainly because they were the only girls at the dance.
Pardon us, fair maidens. But would you care to trip the light fantastic?
We'd rather dance.
You have to give the girls credit. At least they tried, but in vain, for although Nose Red was light on her feet, the light of her red nose blinded her partner, causing him to crash into the wall. Slow White, on the other hand, was slower than usual, and by the time she lifted her foot to take the first step, the music was over, and so was the ball.
Don't cry, Slow White. We'll find husbands.
That's not why I'm crying. You're standing on my foot.
But luck was with them, for the very next day was the day of the annual bachelor's picnic. Just as before, they were the most attractive girls at the gathering, and for the same reason as before.
I shall do the cooking.
Slow White turned on the gas stove and struck the match 45 minutes later.
Well, your troubles are over. Go to this address. Inside the cottage, you will meet two brothers who are your perfect match.
Oh, Mr. Marriage Counselor Hacken, we thank you.
With money.
Snow White and Nose Red scuttled off, their miller's daughter's hearts beating in wild anticipation.
I hope this doesn't turn out to be another fiasco.
You'll be happy to know that everything turned out perfectly. For you see, Slow White knocked on the door of the cottage, and it didn't open until 2 years later.
Oh, my, but you're slow.
And you, fair maiden, are my true love.
Yes, Slow White had met someone even slower than she. And Nose Red? Well, the other brother was a strapping, handsome brute. He had one slight blemish, a green nose.
I'm Irish, you know.
Oh, this too was a dream match, for when you get a green nose and a red nose, well, it's Christmas every day. Slow White and Nose Red lived happily ever after. I wish I could say the same for their father.
I'm not a father, actually. I'm a mother.
It's a well-known fact that the hat makes the man, be he rich man, poor man, spaceman, thief, soldier, sailor, or Indian chief. It's the hat that does it. Just imagine what would happen if an admiral looked like this, or an astronaut like this, or a poor man like this.
Ridiculous!
Yes, hats are important, all right, but no hat in history ever caused the controversy that this one did, for this is the Kerwood Derby, which makes anyone who wears it the smartest person in the world, and it's being eagerly sought by Boris Badenov and his fearless leader.
Once my head is under that hat, Badinov.
You'll be smart.
What?
I mean smarter, dear old chiefy boy, honeypot, superior officer Dow.
Badinov, you're making my cuffs soggy.
Sorry.
And what happens when your fearless leader is all-powerful?
Pottsylvania rules the world.
Hail, Pottsylvania! Hail to the black and the blue! Hail, Pottsylvania! Sneaky and crooked, through and through. Down with the good guys, up with the boss. Under the sign of the Triple Cross. Oh, hail, Pottsylvania! Hail, hail, hail! Himmelwerfer, was ist los?
What else? It's hail, and you asked for it.
There's only one hitch in the villain's plan to find the lost Derby. It must be found by the stupidest creature alive, which up to our last episode was Bullwinkle Moose. But then his hero, Rocky Squirrel, suddenly disappeared, and a moment later, so did Bullwinkle. Well, it seems there's nothing left to do but start another series.
You wouldn't dare.
Rocky, what's up?
I am, and so is Bullwinkle.
Yes, our two heroes were dangling from trees high above the ground where they had been snatched by a couple of cunning traps laid in their path.
Yeah, but who'd want to trap us?
Especially upside down.
We uns would, Moose.
Who, you uns?
We uns is hatfuls, that's who uns.
But why trap us? Us.
'Cause we got to take y'all to Devil Dan.
Both of us?
No, not y'all, just y'all.
And one of the hatfuls leveled his gun upward.
Look out, Bullwinkle!
He got me!
No, he didn't, Bullwinkle. It was your rope. Your rope.
I know, and I'm at the end of it too, Rock.
Grab 'em, boys.
And the jubilant hatfuls lugged the dazed Bullwinkle into the woods while Rocky fumed helplessly high above.
I can't get the trap off my foot. Well, there's only one thing to do.
And the plucky squirrel zoomed straight upward to the end of his rope. The cord drew tighter and tighter. And finally a tree limb snapped and Rocky was free, except for a 10-foot branch trailing behind him.
Hang on, Bullwinkle, I'm coming.
Down the aerial speedster flashed lower and lower.
Run, Zeke, run. Here comes that pesky squirrel.
Well, I got just a thing for Pesky Squirrel.
What's that?
My pesky squirrel gun. I'll stay here, and when he goes past, I'll let him have it.
Sure enough, when Rocky flashed by, Zeke rose to his feet and leveled his rifle. Unfortunately for him, Zeke had forgotten about the trailing tree branch. Well, the branch saved Rocky that time, but then as he approached Bullwinkle's captors...
Hey, you guys, drop that moose!
The branch caught in the fork of another tree, and Rocky was snapped down and out of sight.
Well, that takes care of him, Alfred. Let's go.
I could sure use a squirrel tail for my car aerial.
There's no time. Let's go.
And the hatfuls hurried through the woods, bearing the bewildered Bullwinkle toward a sinister hut where a rather unpleasant reception committee awaited him. Don't miss our next episode, Hello, My Booby, or Pleased to Beat You.
And now, here's that smash of the window washing world, Mr. Know-It-All.
Hello there, friends. Today we take up the problem of how to wash a window. All you need is a sponge, a bucket, and a dirty window, like this one. Which brings up the point of always checking to see that there's a window. Then, of course, there's the window on the tall building, such as this one. It's essential that you don't frighten the office workers by suddenly appearing 70 stories above the street outside their window. So naturally, you tap gently. Oh, kind sir, I don't wish to distract or frighten you, so would you mind lowering your blind? The blinds! Undo the cord to the blind! Then there is the safety belt method. This method keeps you from falling by simply hooking one end of your belt to this side of the window and the other end of your belt to this side. No belt. Oh, well, I'll just use my suspenders.
Gee, Mr. Know-It-All, you didn't show us how to wash many windows. What have you got to say for yourself?
Just, where's my bucket? Thanks loads.
Hello out there, Peabody again. For today's journey into history, we are going back to...
Hi, Mr. Peabody.
Hello, Florence.
Florence? My name isn't Florence, Mr. Peabody. It's Sherman.
I was in the process of explaining that we are going back in time to visit Florence Nightingale.
You mean history's most famous nurse?
Precisely. Please set the wayback controls for the Crimean Peninsula in the southern section of Russia, site of the Crimean War.
Got it. And the year?
1854. The wayback, dependable as always, wasted no time in taking us to our destination, a field hospital just 2 miles from the enemy lines.
Come on, Mr. Peabody. I'll bet Miss Nightingale is inside.
She was, but we expected to find her beside a bed, not in one.
Miss Nightingale, are you sick?
Extremely. And ill is the word, young man.
Where, may I ask, does it hurt?
Where doesn't it hurt? You see, they call me the lady with a lamp because I go about administering aid by lamplight.
Yes, we know.
Yeah, but what you don't know is that the Russians took all our oil in a sneak attack. Therefore, my lamps are useless. I've been forced to go around in the dark.
Golly, that could be dangerous.
I noticed that. So far this week, I've fallen into 22 trenches.
But don't you worry, Miss Nightingale. We'll get the oil back for your lamps. Won't we, Mr. Peabody?
Of course. Sherman and I started off immediately and under cover of darkness managed to successfully slip into the Russian camp. Finding the oil drums was no problem, for they were stacked everywhere.
So far, so good.
Less than an hour later, Sherman and I were sitting atop a horse-drawn wagon filled to capacity with oil drums and heading back for the Allied lines.
Just one moment. Where do you think you are going?
Uh-oh, a soldier. I'll throw him off the track. The general asked us to bring these oil drums to him.
Good, then put them here in my tent.
In your tent? Why?
Why else? I'm the general.
Sherman's boo-boo left us nothing to do but follow the general's orders.
Seems silly that I would order oil drums brought to my tent, but I am general, so must be good reason.
Quite right. Now, if you'll excuse us, but as we turn to leave...
General, somebody has stolen a bunch of oil drums.
Needless to say, that tore it. We were quickly apprehended as spies and placed in a prison tent under heavy guard.
What are we going to do, Mr. Peabody?
It has become quite obvious the only way we can get the oil from Miss Nightingale is to have the general himself send it back.
The general? How are we going to do that?
That will be simple. The problem right now is getting ourselves some disguises. I solved that problem by taking the hair from a mattress on the cot and fashioning beards for Sherman and myself. Eluding our guards by slipping under the back of the tent, we went directly to the front of the general's quarters. Get me a bucket of oil from that drum, Sherman.
Yeah, here you are, Mr. Peabody. Now what?
First, I pour it on the ground, like so. General, could you come out for a moment?
Coming. What's all there? What's going on? What happened?
It appears as though you slipped on some oil.
Who are you?
I am Mr. Peabody, and this is Sherman Skovich.
Nice to know you, but isn't the kid a little young to have a beard?
Not really. You see, he's a little shaver who never shaves.
Are you kidding? I will go get something to eat. Maybe it will calm my nerves.
That is our cue, Sherman. Your eggs, General?
Say, that looks good. Those eggs taste like 30-weight crankcase oil.
Perhaps it's because they were cooked in 30-weight crankcase oil.
Oil, every time I turn around, something is oily.
Calm yourself, General. What you need is a nap.
Good idea. If this keeps up, I'm going to have a nervous proposition.
It's working, Sherman. Waiting until the general had retired and was fast asleep, Sherman and I crept up to a huge pile of oil drums which were directly behind his tent. I instructed Sherman to remove the peg supporting the key drum, and gravity did the rest.
Don't tell me what happened. I know it's oil. Oil to the left of me. Oil on top, oil everywhere.
With all the trouble this oil is causing you, you very well might lose the war.
That's right. You got advice?
Always. Why not send all of the oil to the Allies and let them have the trouble?
What fiendishly clever idea.
With a signed order from the general, we of course had no further trouble getting the oil back across the lines.
You did it again, Mr. Peabody.
Miss Nightingale's problems were solved. But such was not the case for the soldiers. Though they now had plenty of oil, there was an acute shortage of water. They had to bathe in oil at night before going to bed, and again in the morning instead of taking a shower. One good thing did come of this, however, a famous saying that we use to this day.
Mr. Peabody, you don't mean...
Yes, I do, Sherman. It's oily to bed, oily to rise.
Now, last episode, Bullwinkle had been moose-napped by a band of hateful hatfuls. Rocky tried to follow him, but ran into a little trouble with a tree. Now Bullwinkle is being carried into a sinister hut deep in the woods where a rather unpleasant reception committee awaits him.
Okay, fearless leader, there is Moose. How do we get him to lead us to Curver Derby?
Very simple, bad enough. We simply brainwash him.
Sure enough, the hapless moose was taken into a small room and left there with 3 expert brainwashers. Hours went by, and finally the door swung open.
Moose is brainwashed, yes?
Moose is brainwashed, no.
Why is this?
Not enough brain to wash.
I sure feel clean-headed, though.
Bad enough, we must get Moose under our control.
Easy, boss man. Looky here.
What's that?
Beautiful dreamer hypnotism kit.
How does it work?
First, I use little Daisy Buzzer to get his attention. Then I use whirling disc to focus his eyes. Then is put on special Google glasses. Look deep into his eyes and say, sleep, you are going to sleep. Pretty good, huh, boss? Boss, fearless leader. Hey, wake up!
What were you saying?
Ain't my hypnotism...
It will never work.
Oh, boy. Let me give it a try, fearless leader. What have we got to lose?
Billions of dollars and world domination.
I mean, aside from that.
Oh, very well. Go ahead.
And Boris slipped into the room with Bullwinkle.
Hey, it's Mr. Devil Dan.
Oop. You kidding, Moose? I be Felonious Floy, I be.
I would have swore you had a beard just a second ago.
No, I was just looking on you upside down like this.
Oh.
Now, attention. Watch the... Hey, Moose, watch the disc.
But it was too late. Bullwinkle was already in a deep trance.
You couldn't do this to me. I paid $2.98 for this thing. You got to watch the whirling disc like this. You got to look at the glasses when I say sleep. Sleep. You're going to...
And so an hour later, when an impatient, fearless leader opened the door of the room, he saw 2 figures sitting in a trance.
Townsend Turner, bad enough. Wake up.
Please, Mama, not in the head. Oh, it's you, fearless leader.
Get to work on that Moose.
Right away, bossman. You are going to look for a derby.
Yeah, derby.
Meanwhile, back in the woods, Rocky had finally succeeded in getting the trap off his foot.
There! Now I'm free to follow Bullwinkle. But how?
The sharp-eyed squirrel noticed that the bark had been knocked off several trees.
Aha! That's where Bullwinkle's antlers must have scraped against them.
And with an eye like an eagle, the plucky squirrel went from tree to tree until he reached the end of the trail.
Whoop!
Looking for somebody, stranger?
Was that you making these marks on the trees?
I cannot tell a lie. I did it with my little hatchet.
Say, what's your name?
Washington.
I bet your first name is George.
No, Martha.
Well, my mistake. I was looking for a moose.
Oh, him? He's in there.
Fearlessly, he zoomed through the window of the sinister cottage only to find it empty.
Where can he be?
Where, indeed? For at that moment, Bullwinkle was walking in a trance just ahead of Boris and Fearless Leader.
Derby. I must find a derby.
It's working, fearless leader.
And there's the derby now.
Now?
Already?
So soon? Has Bullwinkle really ended his quest? We'll find out next time in Under Bullwinkle's Bowler or The Wide Open Spaces.